see our huge inventory of about 2,000 vehicles by clicking on our ad at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
WTIM. You're listening to the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and we finish things out today with Jack Myers, a public affairs specialist at the Social Security Administration, coming on for the second time this August. Jack, good to talk to you.
Thanks for having me on, Reed. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yes. And it's always a pleasure to have you on and clarify, what needs to be clarified when it comes to Social Security, and there's certainly a lot to it. I know you've talked before about the two different kinds of disability programs, SSDI, SSI. I'm sure it's a good refresher just to go again through those differences and how someone applies online for them.
Yeah, I think we do have a lot of questions that we get about the disability programs we administer. If someone is facing a disability, it's important to know that we do have two different disability programs that you could apply for. The first one is Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI. Now that one is going to pay monthly benefits if you've worked and paid into Social Security and you have a disabling condition that keeps you from working. If you're on SSDI, the benefits are going to be based on your past earnings. So the benefit amount each month will be different from person to person and will be directly related to how much you worked previously and earned and paid into the system. But then the other program that we have for disability is called Supplemental Security Income, or SSI. SSI provides monthly payments to adults and children with disabilities or blindness who have limited income and resources. Now, in some cases, if you're 65 or older, you might qualify for SSI even without a disability, as long as you meet certain income and resource limits. So the key there for the SSI program is you don't have to have the work history, but you do have to be low income, limited income, few assets in order to qualify. But for either disability program, you have to have a medical condition that's expected to last at least 1 year or result in death. And that condition must prevent you from doing what's called substantial gainful activity. So really that's a dollar amount, Reed. In 2026, that means earning less than $1,690 gross per month if you're not blind. So there is a different limit if you are statutorily blind, but for anybody who's applying for a disability other than blindness, that limit is $1,690. So what that really means is if you're working and wanting to apply for disability through either SSI or Social Security, your earnings would have to be below that $1,690 a month threshold if your disability is anything other than blindness. When it comes to how to apply, online is an easy way. So you could go to ssa.gov. If you're 18 or older, have a My Social Security account, and your previous disability application was denied more than 60 days ago, you can apply online anytime. Now, the reason I say that, if you had a previous claim that was denied more than 60 days ago, the reason I make that distinction is because if you had just applied and been denied within the last 60 days, then what you would want to do is appeal in most cases, as opposed to doing a new claim. You could also do an appeal online at ssa.gov, but that's just a distinction there. You wouldn't necessarily file a new claim if you've had a recent denial. I mentioned that you can apply for both programs in some cases online. The SSDI is, pretty easy to apply online, and the SSI application is simpler now as well. So in some cases, you can do that application online as well. There are a few more criteria if you're wanting to do the SSI claim online. Basically, you've got to be between 18 and 64 and 10 months old. You have to have a My Social Security account. You have to have been never married, and you can never have applied for SSI before. Those are a few of the key requirements for applying online for SSI. You also have to be in one of the 50 states, DC or the Northern Mariana Islands. In those cases, you can apply online for both SSI and SSDI, but you would start the process by doing the SSDI application, and then you would indicate that yes, you intend to file for SSI as well. So you would start down the path of doing the SSDI application, and then you just indicate that yes, you want to apply for SSI. If you're not able to do that online, you could just give us a call, 800-772-1213, and we can make you an appointment to file your application over the telephone.
All right, so good information there about SSDI and SSI and how to go about getting those benefits. I'm talking right now with Jack Myers, a public affairs specialist at the Social Security Administration. I want to move on to a different topic, and this one has to do with having a baby. Now, and I know when that happens, there's certainly a long to-do list of which I am very not jealous, and I know that, or I would understand that the all things Social Security will certainly add it to that to-do list. Jack, what should expectant parents know about getting a Social Security number for the soon-to-be newborn?
Yeah, you referenced that to-do list. It is a long one, and many of those things can be checked off before baby arrives. But applying for the Social Security number is one of those that has to wait for baby's birth. So you will have to get that application submitted for a Social Security number for your child right away. One of the simplest things to do, and this is what most people do, Reed, you can take advantage of a process called enumeration at birth. And basically what that entails in most cases, and this would be like if you have your baby in a hospital, a birthing center, or through the assistance of a licensed midwife, you can do enumeration at birth. And what that is it's really a very simple process where you provide information for the child's birth certificate. And during that process, there will be a question that says, would you like to apply for their Social Security card as well? If you say yes to that, what happens is the state of Illinois, or whatever state you might live in, will electronically share the birth certificate information with Social Security. So after they establish your baby's birth certificate, they will share that information with us, and we at Social Security will use that to issue a Social Security number and card for your baby. We'll mail that out to you. It takes just a few weeks. So just a few weeks after baby's born, you should have that Social Security card in the mail. We don't need you to submit anything else. The card will be sent to the address that you give the hospital. So, as long as you gave them a current address, that's where we'll send the card. Typically, the U.S. Postal Service would forward a card. So if you move in the meantime and put a forwarding order, that should be forwarded to your new address as well. So it's really a simple way to do it, and it prevents you from having to visit an office and some additional documents you would have to bring at a time in your life where you're adjusting to a lot of change. And why would you want to visit a Social Security office? So go ahead and do that during the birth certificate application process and save yourself some time and energy that way.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense, to be able to do this online, and probably saves the parents a lot of trouble, and probably same thing for the other people who are in the Social Security office at that point. Jack Myers, public affairs specialist at the Social Security Administration, is our guest in this part of the show. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about this sort of case here and some changes or announcements, I should say, related to enumeration at birth. And that'll be coming up right here on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
Back to markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and Chicago wheat all higher at this hour. September corn up 3 1/4, 503 3/4. December corn 525 3/4, up 2 1/4. March corn 540 3/4, up 2 1/4. September beans up 6 1/2, 1234 1/2. November beans up 5 1/2, 1243 1/4. January beans 1257 3/4, up 5 1/2. September Chicago wheat up 9 3/4, 695 1/4. September KC wheat up 5 1/4, $7.59 and 3/4. September bean meal up 90 cents, $3.21.20. September bean oil down a dime, $67.42. Livestock trade, August feeders down $1.32, $3.32.40. August live cattle up 60 cents, $2.18.70. October lean hogs down a nickel, 80.40. Energy market, October Brent crude oil down $1.01, 87.57. RFD Radio Network.
Field notes, seed performance, yield maps, soil samples. You've got the data. Now what? That's where your Nutrient Ag Solutions crop consultant comes in. They turn this season's results into insights that click, helping you build a crop plan that connects across your acres, from crop nutrition and protection to seed and financing. Learn more at nutrientagsolutions.com/decisions.
This is Dwayne Wheeler, the police chief of the city of Taylorville. As a law enforcement officer, I've seen the impact that depression and suicide have on many people. Many times, those contemplating suicide endure considerable suffering and distress. But there is help. If you feel depressed or lonely, there are many resources to help you. You can call a trusted relative, friend, or minister, or call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. That is 1-800-273-TALK. All of us are here to help you. Thank you.
If you're 40 and over, you'll recognize these artists by their first names. Frank, Dean, Sammy, Andy, Nat, Diana, Michael. Well, here's the big news. You can now hear Central Illinois' largest music library with over 3,500 songs on air and online at 965thechill.com. Tune in on the FM dial in Christian County and on your computer or smartphone. Hear these great artists and many more 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 965thechill.com.
CTI is the only internet company that offers no data caps and limitless data for limitless possibilities. They're your local internet provider. Sign up by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Looking for the best deal? Head to Landmark of Taylorville. Get employee pricing plus on select new Chevy, Buick, and GMC models. Shop new and pre-owned today at Landmark or click our banner at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
You always do better at Landmark. WTIM.
Back on the WTIM morning show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and I continue my conversation here with Jack Myers, Public Affairs Specialist at the Social Security Administration. We left off talking a little bit about some of the steps that come into play for people who are having a baby. And it sounds like there are some recent announcements related to enumeration at birth, which is the process we were talking about in that previous segment. Jack, what are those new pieces of information?
Yeah, so like we said before the break, when you're giving the child's information for the creation of the birth certificate, just say yes, you'd like to apply for the Social Security number, then that card will be sent to you at the address you give the hospital. But one of the things that we announced in July was that for the rest of this calendar year 2026, for children born between July 2nd, 2026 and 12/31/26, when they get Social Security cards issued through the enumeration at birth process, their cards will bear a commemorative logo, the Freedom 250 logo, to celebrate America's 250th anniversary. Now, these cards are only going to be the ones that are issued through the enumeration at birth process. If they get replacement cards down the road, they will not have that Freedom 250 logo. The logos are able to be printed to the cards at no additional cost to taxpayers. The cards never cost parents anything, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's just kind of a unique thing that's going to be, again, unique to those children born between July 2nd, 26 and 12/31/26. So that's kind of a cool thing. And then the other announcement that was made in July was that we believe parents will soon have the option to enroll their children in a Trump account as part of the enumeration at birth process. So what we're thinking that's going to look like is we're anticipating a question being added to the birth certificate application process where you can choose to enroll in the Trump account when you apply for the Social Security number. Now, it's not going to be a mandatory thing in order to participate in enumeration at birth. It'll just be an additional option. These accounts were created by the Working Family Tax Cuts Law. You have other ways you can enroll in these accounts. You can do that when you file your tax return with the IRS, or you can submit an IRS Form 4547 to enroll. And what they are, Reed, is they're individual retirement accounts for eligible minors under the age of 18. There are a lot of advantages to establishing such accounts for your children, but one of the biggest advantages is a pilot program where the Department of the Treasury will make a one-time deposit of $1,000 to the accounts of eligible children who were born between January 1st, 25 and December 31st of 28. In order to receive that $1,000 deposit, the child must have a Trump account, be a U.S. citizen, and have a valid Social Security number. The pilot program for these deposits, or the pilot program deposits, started July of this year. So if you're interested in that, it's worth looking into. It's a way to get your child a very early start on retirement savings. You can get more info at trumpaccounts.gov. So check that out if you're wanting to learn more.
All right, interesting developments there, and yeah, certainly the early start in retirement savings does make a big difference. So I'm glad you laid all of that out for us. I want to turn to another pretty exciting topic, I would say. Social Security is celebrating its 91st anniversary. Sounds like that happened just under 2 weeks ago, and with that comes some interesting factoids that you wanted to share with our listeners. What do you have?
Yeah, August 14th, 2026 was the 91st anniversary of the Social Security Act. So, as we celebrate the Social Security birthday month, if you will, I thought it might be kind of fun to go over some trivia points. So Social Security taxes were collected for the first time in January of 1937. And the first Social Security payments also started in January of 1937, but they were not as we know them today. So initially, during this startup period that lasted from January of 37 through December of 39, there weren't monthly payments. So basically, there were just one-time lump sum payments that were issued during that period. The first recipient of a Social Security payment was one of those lump sum payments, and it was a guy by the name of Ernest Ackerman out of Ohio. He received a lump sum payment of, are you ready for this?
Yes.
17 cents. So that was the first overall payment that was ever issued. But monthly Social Security payments began in January of 1940. And the first recipient of a monthly payment was a lady by the name of Ida Mae Fuller out of Vermont. Now, Ida Mae actually ended up living to be 100 years old. So she really did well on Social Security. If you look at what she paid in $22.54, and her benefits were close to $23,000 in total benefits by the time she passed at the age of 100. So Ida Mae did really well on her Social Security contributions.
Yeah, and what do you happen to remember what year that payment out was?
So her first payment began in January of 1940. So she started getting payments in January of 1940 up until her passing in 1975.
Okay. All right. Well, still, some time ago. So, obviously worth more in today's dollars is that amount. And then just about a minute to go, you folks came online, quite a bit later than that founding, but also in the early days of the internet. Is that right?
Yeah. We talk a lot about our website, ssa.gov, a ton of great things you can do there, including filing for claim or for benefits, all kinds of good stuff. But our website has been around since 1994. That's when we first launched it. We actually added the ability to file a retirement claim online in 2001. So we've been accepting claims online for 25 years now, and it still remains a great way to do your application today at ssa.gov.
Okay, yeah. So early days of the internet saw the Social Security website go up, and yes, certainly a valuable resource indeed. Jack Myers, Public Affairs Specialist at the Social Security Administration, has been the guest in this part of the show. Jack, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and thank you for listening here on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. We'll be back on tomorrow. Have a great day.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville. 96.1 FM Taylorville. 107.5 FM Shelby.